what I'm talking about. I'm like, okay. So the question is, I mean, if the president or the commander in chief is actually sent him out there, sent them boys out there for that reason, would you be mad at that? I mean, what would you do if it was just basically, you know what I mean? They hit you, you hit me, you had my chance, just like in Godfather One, where the one dude, Michael Corleone asked him, he was like, I want to make sure there's no attempts on my father's life anymore. And he said, what guarantees can I give you? I'm the hunted one. I had my chance and I missed. So you had your chance and you missed. So would he be within his, you know, within his own righteous way and saying, okay, I'm 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 the leader of a nation. It was called the United States. And you guys are over there and you actually employed people in America that are considered to be United States citizens to take me out. And you did it on TV. It's cold business. They took what comment down? They took what comment down, Smash? So I'm looking at it like this. Hey, what would you do in that situation? If you know this is somebody that's really against you and there's a reason why they don't want you in there and you're actually using, quote unquote, allegedly you're using United States citizens to do your job, to do the job, take him out completely. Now, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, that's fake. I don't believe it. It's all fronting and faking. And you say, well, maybe. Let me close my door. Dude playing this goddamn headbanger music. So he's saying, hey, I mean, if it is fake, don't matter. What people seeing, and this is where you get your small percentage of people, the bottom line is that on camera, live, they try to take that boy out. Whether it's people say, well, yeah, he's got a one of those actor numbers. Okay. Yeah. I mean, a lot of things that we have that they put into policy are considered to be acts, ACTS, acts. And they always talk about in politics when they're talking about each other, they call each other actors, these bad actors or whatever they're doing. What does that mean? I'm just saying. You look at it from this perspective. I mean, hey, whether it's acting or not, what the world sees is something that is very real. When I say real, very real. So you can't really be mad. You can't really just turn your back on it. On TV, they tried to pop that dude and some other people that was in the stands. One passed. One was taken out, trying to protect his family. Other people was hit. So hey, It is what it is. But I wouldn't take this stuff lightly. I would not take this stuff lightly because they are actually over there. And then the Secretary of War, he said, yeah, they tried to take him out, but Trump got the last laugh. I think we know what our answer would be under the circumstances, dealing with the situation as is. If you had your own situation going, what would you do? You know, that's what I consider to be what I consider to be kind of common sense. I ain't in that situation. I don't know what I would do, but I know what my first response would be, my first action. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Nope. Text me. No. There we go. Bam. Aton-Yah. Cool in the gang. We just need a couple things. Get the phone bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Okay, boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. All right, so let's get going here. Share screen. Boom. All right. So let's talk treaties here. Let's go with the history of treaties. Now, I asked it a question. I'm just gonna call it it. I asked it a question. Let's talk treaties historically to the present day. Tell me, when was the first treaty documented in world history? Who was it between and the significance? So the first known documented treaty in world history is generally recognized as the Egyptian-Hittite peace treaty, concluded around 1259 BC. Now, this is supposed to be Egyptian-Hittite peace treaty. But if you actually look at this picture right here, this is supposed to be from ancient Mesopotamia. That's what it's supposed to be. So the name of the Hittite the name that was the ruler at that time was Hattusili, and then we got Ramesses II, ruler of the new kingdom of Egypt. Now, if you guys didn't know, the Hittite Empire in Anatolia is modern day Turkey, or what they consider to be Asia Minor. Okay. Now, historical context. Now, y'all bear with me because this is going to be a little bit boring. All right. This is going to be a little bit boring. Let me look at the chat real quick. All right. What up, Nate? What up, Nate? What up, Nate? What it do? 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 Yeah. So this is going to be a little bit boring. But let's get down to it, because we're going to have to understand these treaties, and we're going to take it all the way down to the present time. So this treaty followed years of war between Egypt and the Hittite Empire, including the famous Battle of Kadesh, one of the largest chariot battles ever recorded. Now, if you notice, this is in the Bible. These things are recorded in the Bible. This is where I tell people we're gonna get you in the process of knowing that these are books, historical books with names in them. Now, even back then, they say, well, these names couldn't be true because shit, I got my partner named Abraham, right over there in the hood over there, right down the street. His name Abraham. How the So basically, you know, his mom and daddy, they so church going that they actually just named their son after one of the patriarchs of the line of Hebrews and Israelites in the Bible. Okay. Cool. All right. So neither side achieved a decisive victory. Both empires were also facing external threats and internal pressures, which pushed them toward diplomacy. Now, these words that are coming in here, like diplomacy and external and internal, you know, empires, you don't really see those in the Bible. Those are the things that they omit to make this thing so figuratively untouchable, that the only thing you can do is guess. All right. What the treaty did. The treaty established several groundbreaking diplomatic principles: permanent peace. Both kingdoms agreed to end hostilities permanently. Mutual defense of alliance. Peace to you, Tone. Peace to you, Tone. Peace to you, Tone. If a third power attacked one kingdom, the other will provide military assistance. So I want you to think present day right now, and what we're dealing with treaties and how they were established. More importantly, these are treaties that were established here in America between the indigenous people and the United States and Britain, England, that whatever they want to call themselves out there. Okay. Extradition clause. Now, let me give you a quick definition of extradition. I mean, because they had some of those things dealing with what's that guy's name that had the WikiLeaks thing, and you know they actually had him locked up all this time. Extradition. Okay, the action of extraditing a person accused or convicted of a crime. So, for an example, if somebody committed a crime in America, or let's say somebody committed a crime in Indian territory, in Indian country, and they fled and they escaped back into the United States jurisdiction, and it was found that this individual did what they did. This man did what he did. What they will do is they will send, because we have a treaty, they will send something to the United States saying, hey, President, we got somebody that committed a crime over on this land and violated our treaty and pretty much violated your rules. So since he did it over here, he belongs to us. So you need to extradite him over here immediately so we can handle him in our courts. All right. Okay. So extradition clause, runaways or political refugees were to be returned to their homeland. Now, under the circumstances, this is saying homeland. And this is actually dealing with somebody also that might be a part of the indigenous nation that committed a crime and then fled and tried to seek refuge somewhere else. Now, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. All right. Recognition of sovereignty. Each ruler formally recognized the legitimacy of the other. Now, here's this word recognized again. Recognition does not mean somebody having authority over the other. Recognize is you better recognize who we are. And the other side says to me, you better recognize who we are. No problem. It's the respect there. So there's the boundary. We don't trespass, you don't trespass. Why it is significant. This treaty is extremely important for several reasons. Now, we're talking about 12-something BC here. We're still talking about the Hittite Egyptian treaty. One, oldest surviving written treaty. Oldest surviving written treaty. That means it's the only written treaty that can actually be located. That doesn't mean there's not other treaties. Copies exist in two languages. Copies exist in two languages. Now I'm trying to get my phone over here, so I ain't got to keep jumping back and forth. What's up, big dog? Big dog. What it do, brother? Tight Sam. What it do, brother? Hopefully y'all hang out a little bit. We're talking about these treaty, Tight Sam. This is your lane, Tight Sam. All right. So copies exist in two languages: Egyptian hieroglyphs, temple inscriptions, Hittite cuneiform tablets found in Hattusa. Right. So everybody knows that the first 6,000 years ago is when a lot of the taxation system is supposed to have been created by Nimrod. Okay. A lot of people don't relate Nimrod to the Hattusa or the Hittites. If you actually break these words down, right, you got Cushite and then you got the Hittite, right? Both of them are sons of Ham or Kim. If you need to know, anytime you've seen an H in the Bible, it has a K in front of it. Sometimes they put a C, sometimes they put a K, but usually it's a K. Okay, so H will actually have a K in front of it as well. So it's not Ham, it's Kim, or like Cam, like the rapper Cam or Kim. That was more of a masculine name more than a feminine name. Okay, so the Hittites and the Cushites are the same. Okay, so when you're dealing with those people, so you have the Cushites that they consider to be Ethiopia, Nubia, but you also have the Kassites in what is considered to be Iraq and Iran, right? Those were the Sumeria, Eber, those areas. Eric, they had those places, right? People say Eric, yeah, Eric. Yeah, everybody knows somebody. I mean, I got a partner named Eric. Eric. Those places are Samaria. Those people were considered to be, and they had statues of lions with male heads on it, just like you see in the in Egypt. But if you're dealing with cuneiform is connected to Nimrod, and this is the Hittites. And that's Asia Minor. And Asia Minor curves all the way down to the Mesopotamia. All right. Number two, early model of international law. So we're back here to why this treaty is extremely important, right? every model of international law. It introduced principles that still exist today: diplomatic equality, alliance obligations, extradition, non-aggression. Now, if you guys are just showing up, we're talking about treaties. We're talking about treaties. I don't mind going back up to the top. My question was, and I'm taking a shortcut and I'm doing this chat thing. Let's talk treaties historically to the present day. So that's what we're talking about, historically to the present day. When first treaty documented in world history, who was it between, and the significance, okay? Number 3, symbol of diplomacy replacing war. Symbol of diplomacy replacing war. It is one of the earliest examples where major powers formalized peace instead of continuing conflict. It's like in chess, it's a stalemate. In chess, the king never dies. At the end of the day, he either gonna tip over or it's just gonna be a checkmate. We got you surrounded. But the king never dies. The other side that checkmates never takes that king. That king stays on the board. So when you're talking about these treaties and these agreements, right, because we're going to bring it all the way to the present, we're going to talk about indigenous things here in America and these treaties. Now, I'm giving you a breakdown. This is BC. This stuff is still followed today. That's why people say, well, you keep talking about 100 years ago. We need to talk about now. Well, if you don't understand history, you're doomed to repeat it. I think all of our parents told us that. Okay, number 4. Still honored symbolically today. A replica of the treaty hangs at the headquarters of the United Nations in New York as a symbol of early international diplomacy. Woo! But they don't want us to remember history. Yeah, don't remember history. But you got this hanging on the wall in the United Nations. In the White House, you go in there, you'll see every single president hanging on that wall. You will see a fixture that they had from the time the White House was built to the present day. But no, don't remember history. Huh? All right. Let me make sure my mic is working. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Good to see y'all brothers up here. Make sure y'all repost it and tell them slackers to get their butt on over here. All right. Just kidding. All right. Everybody can hear me? All right. So key takeaway. The Egyptian-Hittite treaty shows that formal agreements between sovereign powers go back more than 3,200 years, establishing principles that eventually evolved into modern treaty law and international relations. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with. Now, it asked me these questions after that. And we're going to break all these bullet points down one by one. But if you see that, I mean, I pretty much got a good relationship with this chat right now. They have fully been, instructed to look at things in black and white. Stay within the 4 corners. Don't go off into some other place where somebody talking about this and somebody talking about that. Stay within the 4 corners. And this is what people need to know. If you stay within the 4 corners, you can't be beat. Because everything is about ambiguous talk, legalese talk, and this and that and that and this. But these words are here for a reason. Now, it might have a I in it, like binding. It might have an I. Then it might have an O. Then it might have an A, but they all mean coming together, binding, bonding, banding. What's coming after that? Together. All right, so we're going to deal with the next thing, the difference between ancient treaties and modern treaty law. All right. So the difference between ancient treaties and modern treaty law is actually one of the most important developments in legal history. Treaties evolved from personal sacred promises between rulers into formal legal obligations between states recognized under international law. Right? So the United States wasn't recognized until they made their first treaty. Okay, so they was not recognized until they had the treaty. Before that, there was nothing but sub corporations of the British Crown, if we want to use that term. I don't like using that term, but we're gonna have to go through it. It pains me to even say it. But under the circumstances, the United States didn't have nothing. They had no treaties with us. They had treaties with England or that empire over there. Okay. So ancient treaties before 1600s. Ancient treaties were primarily agreements between rulers, not states in the modern sense. Characteristics, personal agreements between kings or emperors, often sworn before gods or sacred authorities, enforced through honor, religion, or military retaliation. No permanent international legal system to enforce them. Example, the treaty between Ramesses II and Hattusili III, key features, sacred oaths. Violating the treaty was believed to be divine punishment. Dynastic agreements. Marriages between royal families were often part of the treaty. Territorial recognition. Agreements often set borders between empires. Mutual defense. Military alliances were common. Now, we see all these things today. So you guys talking about what the United States going on and fighting that war over there, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, these people have alliances. Now, what the question is are these alliances, these treaties valid and recognized? We can get into that later. Enforcement was simple. If violated, war. Now, the question is, why didn't we never go to war with them? This is what I'm saying. These things happen methodically here in America. It was done right up under our noses. But we're going to get to that later. There was no court, tribunal, or global authority. Transitional period, 1648 to 1900. A huge shift happened with the Peace of Westphalia. Westphalia matters because it created the concept of modern sovereign states. Before this, authority often came from emperors, churches, or dynasties. After Westphalia, states became independent legal entities. New principles introduced: state sovereignty, non-interference, recognized diplomatic relations. Treaties began to move from personal ruler agreements, legal agreements between states. Well, personal ruler agreements / legal agreements between states. Wait a minute. Treaties began to move from personal ruler agreements to legal agreements between states. I guess that's what that arrow was talking about. Modern treaty law. Today's treaties are governed by formal international legal rules. The main framework is the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties. This convention explains how treaties are made, how they become binding, how they can be terminated. Modern characteristics between states or international organizations, not between individuals. Written legal instruments, signed, ratified, and registered, binding under international law. Once ratified, they become legally binding. Interpretation rules. Courts and tribunals can interpret them. Example, institutions. International Court of Justice. Okay. United Nations. Okay. So they're using the word legally, legal. So under these circumstances, courts and tribunals can interpret them. These two right here. So if these things actually happen, this is very important. Okay? This is very important. So I want to pull this up. Anyway. Oh, there you go. So the Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties is an international agreement that codifies the rules and principles governing treaties between states. See, it codifying things. Adopted in Vienna on May 23rd, 1969, and we're going to talk about that too as well. Why codification came into play. And it has a lot to do because this started dealing with states like a band of, like not a band, but a more broader rulership that was considered to be more the people, what they consider to be the people, or mob rules versus, you have your leader that's actually making the deals. Adopted in Vienna, and you can actually I'm going to give a crazy example, is that back in the day when, and they talk about this in Asia dealing with martial arts, the way they kept from destroying total villages and killing off a lot of people, they brought their best to fight the other side's best. But like you see in a martial arts movie, it's 1 against 1, or it's like maybe 4 or 5 against them 4 or 5. These are our best right here. Winner, last one standing, wins. And that's how they sell the disputes too as well. We take our champion against your champion. That was kind of like the story of David and Goliath. Goliath came forward. Who your best? Everybody stood down. David came forward. All right. So that's what Vienna Convention has been about. This is pretty much your updated way of how treaties are supposed to function and what is to be done and how to go about seeking, I would say, remedy or getting some type of, I would say reparations, restoration, and all those different factions, restitution, whatever. All right, so okay. Ancient versus modern treaty comparison. We don't need to go over that. We just talked about that. Okay, so one major exception, indigenous treaties. Okay, so let's deal with indigenous treaties. This is where things become legally and historically complex. Many treaties between indigenous nations and colonial powers were negotiated like ancient sovereign treaties. Listen closely. Ancient sovereign treaties. So we going all the way back to the Ramesses II in Hattusa, 1290 BC. So what this is saying right here, and I didn't get, you saw my topic, I said ask a specific broad question. I ain't get no details, didn't lead it on. I came up with this. I'm reading it with you. I just did this. Okay. No bullshit. I just read this. I just pulled this up. All right. So I'm reading it with you. So if that's the case, then that means that all the indigenous nations here in America was doing their treaties based on old law. So that means we had kings, emperors, and all that shit. This is what it's saying. And we're talking about colonial governments. If you only talk about colonial governments, all we talk about right here is the 13 colonies and in England and what they had going on. So they had to have an emperor over there, and we had to have an emperor over here. So let me read this again, and then you guys tell me if I'm missing something. This is where, let me start from number 5. One major exception. So we're talking about all this right here, and then we're going right here. But wait a minute. There's one major exception: indigenous treaties. This is where things become legally and historically complex. Many treaties between indigenous nations and colonial powers, one, were negotiated like ancient sovereign treaties, but later treated by colonial governments as domestic law or contracts. In the United States, treaties with indigenous nations are recognized under the United States Constitution, Article 6, which states treaties are the supreme law of the land. Here we go. There that go. So remember, I was talking about the supremacy clause, right? Article 6 of the United States Constitution establishes a key principle of national supremacy, government continuity, and official oaths. It's best known for the supremacy clause, which asserts the primacy of federal law over conflicting state laws, forming a cornerstone of the U.S. constitutional order. It is best known for the supremacy clause, which asserts the primacy of federal law over conflicting state laws, forming a cornerstone of the U.S. constitutional order. Ratified 1788. Okay. Now, I'm gonna go ahead, give a second. Give me a second, because I'm gonna pull this up. Article 6. Then we'll come back to it later. All right. So let's keep going. So yet historically, okay, right here. So yet historically, many were violated, reinterpreted, or ignored. So I could give you some, and you say, okay, but in your mind, you're ignoring what I'm saying. And then when you hear it, you take it back to your people, and you guys give your own interpretation of it, but not in front of us, not in front of our site. You ain't did that in front of me. When Debo leave, I'll be talking again. And that is the issue. But now we at this point in time where we're saying, oh, well, they just going to do what they going to do anyway. I mean, well, shit. I mean, come on. Gotta do better than that. All right. So this creates major modern legal debates about sovereignty, land rights, treaty obligations. You see, we're getting bullet points here. These are the things that should be focused on. All right. 6, the big historical insight. Ancient treaties were about power and honor. Power and honor. Do you know the United States, as it is today, can display any honor in regards to American history, politics, treaties, law, and anything else? If you can, share it with me. It's going to take me a while because I can't think of one right now. Okay. Modern treaties are supposed to be about law and enforceable obligations. But in reality, power still often determines whether treaties are respected. So, in other words, the United States has expanded, did their thing, and now they got their footprint in all the different areas and pretty much have control, national force, so on and so forth, BLM. They have all these different agencies and things in order, which I kind of give it to Trump a little bit because he's actually getting rid of some of these. He's like, man, it's too much. Get these out of here. He's going back to what is actually been established. But I digress off that. It says, if you like, the next step gets even more interesting historically. The three treaty shifts that shaped the It's giving me these treaties. We didn't get into that. So I went to the third bullet point. Now, how treaties became binding under modern international law. Now, before I do that, let me go over to the chat real quick. Let me see what's popping here. Yep, hit that like button, share, subscribe. Nadi, what's happening, brother? What's happening? All right, appreciate y'all. We in here. I'm gonna keep you back there for a minute, Nadi. I'm gonna get through this and I'll bring you up. All right. So understanding how treaties became binding under modern international law requires looking at how diplomacy evolved into a structured legal system governing agreements between sovereign states. 1. Early foundations from custom to legal obligation. Before formal international law existed, treaties were binding largely because of custom and honor among rulers. Over time, repeated practice created a principle known in law as pacta sunt servanda. Agreements must be kept. It's Latin. All right. This principle became the cornerstone of treaty law. So, like, passively, a lot of these questions are being answered that we have. So obviously the indigenous nations here were speaking Latin. Because if their treaties was based on ancient ways of doing things, then they had to be speaking Latin, amongst other type of languages as well. This principle became the cornerstone of treaty law. Agreements must be kept. It means once a treaty is validly concluded, the parties are legally obligated to perform it in good faith. Okay, good faith, key word. Perform, key word. Obligated, key word. This doctrine was recognized long before modern codification and eventually became a fundamental rule of international law. Emergence of sovereign states. The modern concept of binding treaties really took shape after the Peace of Westphalia. These treaties established independent sovereign states, legal equality among states, diplomatic recognition between governments, because states were now recognized as independent legal actors. Here we go with the actors again. Treaties between them became formal legal commitments, not just promises between rulers. All right, so the Peace of Westphalia was a series of treaties that ended the 30 Years' War in the Holy Roman Empire and the 80 Years' War between Spain and the Dutch Republic, concluded in the cities of Münster and Osnabrück. These agreements reshaped Europe's political and religious order, establishing principles that became foundations of the modern state system. Okay, so that's why it's important. So this was involved Holy Roman Empire, Spain, France, Sweden, Dutch Republic, and numerous German states. Now, all these people right now, what you call the Holy Roman Empire, all these other ones, Spain, France, Sweden, Dutch Republic, numerous German states, these are your Goths, Goths, Goths. You had the Ostrogoths, which is your Eastern Goths, which was a part of the German states. You had the Visigoths, or the Westerners, which is your Spanish areas. You had the Franks, which is what you consider to be France. You had the Huns, or the Anglo-Saxon Huns. Right? A lot of people don't know that the Huns were Anglo-Saxons, but actually it's the Anglo-Saxon Huns. But you didn't hear that from me. I didn't tell you that. Right? So this is your Sweden, your Dutch Republic. You have not them, but they mix those into the Anglo-Saxons, the Dutch, Swedish. You know, it's all kind of intertwined a little bit. You see what I'm saying? But this is your Goths. These are the people that actually came and sacked Rome, or what you consider to be the bare end of the Hannibal empire, because Hannibal wasn't just one person. Hannibal was a family name. That was like what you call a Rothschild. That was a title. They have first names too. Okay. All right. Let's go back over here. All right. So codification of treaty law. And I got to ask this question about codifications. The modern system was formally codified in the Vienna Convention. This treaty sets out the rules for creating, interpreting, and enforcing treaties. Key provision, Article 26, Pacta sunt servanda. Every treaty in force is binding upon the parties to it and must be performed by them in good faith. Pretty, straightforward. This is still binding. So the United States, and we're not just saying the United States, we're saying the whole colonial atmosphere. The 13 colonies, these companies that were pretty much creations of what you would consider to be Rome. People like to say the British Empire, but that was Rome. The British Empire was actually an amalgamation of these Goths that came in and took over and sacked Rome. This is what you're getting it from. And also, I forgot the Vandals in that Goths. You had the Vandals. The Vandals are what you consider to be Italy. All right, so this article formally codifies the centuries-old rule. All right. Number 4, how a treaty becomes binding today. Under modern international law, treaties generally follow a structured process. 1, negotiation. Diplomats or authorized reps. Signature. Okay. They need to be signed by presidents, foreign ministers, or ambassadors. Those 3, depending on the location. Okay. Signature indicates political agreement, but often not yet full legal binding force. All right. Ratification. Each state follows its own constitutional process to approve the treaty. For example, in the United States, ratification requires approval by the United States by the United States Senate. After ratification, the state formally accepts the treaty obligations. But, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but if they're ratifying the treaties, who are they ratifying them with, and how, and who's signing off on them? If we're dealing with treaties here, I mean, they ain't talking about treaties with the UAE and with NATO and with these other places. No, we ain't talking about that. All right. So step 4, entry into force. Once the required number of parties ratify the treaty, which I think is like 33, It enters into force and becomes legally binding. Registration under the United Nations system. Treaties are typically registered and published to assure transparency. There we go. Okay, mental note there. So any treaty, the United Nations, and we got that issue based on the fact that now, I forgot to take that down. We got that now where we have Donald Trump is actually the president and commander-in-chief, has actually pretty much took his protection somewhere else. So he's pretty much not dissolving the United Nations, but he's telling the United Nations, you no longer have our support. The United States is no longer supporting you. And what he's really saying is the United States military, the American military, is not supporting you. If they have any issues, guess who they call? The military. If they need money or they need any type of funding and protection, guess who they're calling? Yeah. Enforcement mechanisms. Unlike domestic law, international law does not have a global police force. You see? Enforcement works through several mechanisms. Diplomatic pressures. States may use negotiations or sanctions. International courts. Disputes may be brought before bodies like the International Court of Justice. So if you have these things, you don't have a global police force, then who's executing these things that are to be violated? If there's an International Court of Justice and everybody is then saying that somebody violated a treaty, then what are we dealing with here? Who's going to go execute that? Who is getting arrested? Who is getting executed for these crimes? If you violate, if we're going against old law, and if we're dealing with legalese versus legalese things, legalese is like, this is where they know they can get over on things because things can be interpreted a certain way. And they use the legalese terms in order to circumvent. See, this is where this codification thing goes in because it's broad. It can be interpreted any old way people think. Well, like Clinton said, well, it depends on what you mean by is. Hey, you didn't spell my name correctly. So, you know what? Hey, this needs to be dismissed away. I don't answer to those things. Reputation and reciprocity. States generally comply because violating treaties damages credibility, diplomatic relations, trade agreements. So that's the only thing. You just violated your credibility. Your diplomatic relationships are now just tanked because your name is mud, and trade agreements, we're not running with you. This is everything Trump is doing right now. Everything he's doing with all these foreign nations. He's saying your credibility is shot. Diplomatic relationships is no longer good. You're not getting our protection anymore unless you pay. And trade agreements. And we're not giving you nothing. We're not accepting nothing. And if we do, we're going to put tariffs on you high as giraffe pussy in order for you to get this up in here. Because we don't need you. You need us. That's one form of fashion. But what about the treaties here in America? Are those no longer to be recognized? Because if they're not to be recognized, then there's no longer a United States of America. So we went over treaties within domestic law when treaties are not binding. Okay, so when treaties are not binding, a treaty may be invalid or terminated under certain circumstances defined in the Vienna Convention, such as fraud or corruption in negotiations, coercion of a state, fundamental change of circumstances, material breach by another party. Now, a lot of people like to refer to these treaties in after the Civil War, these treaties between these nations, the indigenous nations then, and they saying, well, these are fake treaties. They weren't signed by the people. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, well, if that's the case, point it out. Point it out. And then we could figure out where we go from here. So if there was any fraud or corruption, forged signatures, if these were done unilaterally, unilateral mean done by one side, the state coerced the situation, circumstances changed fundamentally. We could use that as an example because they violated and crossed lines, and now you have federal jurisdiction in places where they shouldn't be. And there's also ways, other things such as they created, you have all these national forces where they are saying that they're preserving things. So they're protecting things, but to the benefit of who? Who's getting paid? We don't see no payments going out. Okay. And material breach by another party. So obviously, a breach is basically saying you breached the contract, violate the contract. Big takeaway: modern treaty law transform agreements between rulers. Okay. Key principles: sovereign equality of states, good faith performance, form procedures for ratification and enforcement. Together, these principles form the foundation of the modern international legal system. How treaties interact with Okay, so if you like, next piece, boop, 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 limits of treaty power, da, 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 da. Okay. So now, how treaty concepts relate to indigenous treaties, U.S. treaty obligations, and sovereignty. So now, how treaty concepts relate to indigenous treaties, U.S. treaty obligations, and sovereignty. And before we get going over there, I'm going to clear my throat. Check out everybody in the chat. Bring up Rasnati. Rude boy, what's going on, Natty?
Yo, yo, hey, cooling off.
All right. All right. So, what you think so far?
Cause who's representing? What treaty you representing?
Uh, I'm not representing any me at this point in time. Any treaty that has to deal with, I would say, America right now, with the United States dealing with that situation prior to that. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not really representing it. I would like to know more about it and see where we're at here, because I'm looking for the claim. Man, you got to have a valid claim. You know what I'm saying? And I'm checking to see if this is, a waste of time or people just talking. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get busy on it.
So okay, so yesterday the brethren was reading out of the book of um Ancient America of the West. What was it? Oh, hold on, I got it written down. I got to get that book. I got to study that book. The brethren was reading the book yesterday called um what was the name of that book he was on? I can't recall it right now. The white man that was showing you that the tribes is known as they're known today, coming from other places and showing this and showing that. So the treaties was with corporations. There's a corporation, corp contracts. They just named it treaty at that time. Look up treaty. Look up the word treaty, bro.
All right, let's put. Uh, all right. A formally concluded and ratified agreement between countries.
All right, stop.
All right.
Now, a treat. This is in law. I'm going to read what treaty is meaning in law. A treaty is a legally binding written agreement between sovereign states or international organizations governed by international law.
Gotcha.
It acts as a contract between nations to establish rights and obligations, often referred to as conventions, pacts, or charters. Treaties can be bilateral, two parties, or multilateral, multiple parties.
Mm-hmm.
Binding nature. Once ratified, treaties become part of international law, creating binding obligations for the parties involved. Form. They must be in written form, often involving formal signatures of ratification by authorized lawmaking bodies. Heresy in the United States law. In the United States, treaties approved by a two-third Senate vote are considered the supreme law of the land, equivalent to federal legislations. Has nothing to do with the individual who said they writing the treaty, or the tribe, or who is supposed to be um representing as granting permission for. Don't have nothing to do with it. It's all Congress.
All right.
Bi- Types bilateral. You have a bilateral treaty agreements between two nations, e.g., peace treaties, trade deals. Multilateral agreements between three or more nations, Geneva Convention. Self executing versus non self executing. Some treaties automatically become enforceable by law upon ratification, self executing, while others require Congress to pass implementing legislations. Treaties versus other agreements, executive agreements. Unlike treaties, these are made by the president without Senate approval, often based on existing statutory authority. Treaty process. The United States president negotiates and signs treaties, but they require two-thirds of the Senate approval for ratification. It has nothing to do with all everything that we're examining to be affiliated with our standing on any type of treaties. They're not affiliated with us, or we're not even should be affiliated with those.
Okay. Now, and what I read in the beginning is that these things go way back. Now, whether they were corporation, considered to be corporations back then, I agree with you what it is now. That's what it
Okay,
is now.
okay, okay.
What it was back then was something different. This was like a handshake deal. It was up close and personal. It wasn't these things. This is where it got diluted at. You can't even really put your finger on the one that's actually the one that is to be responsible over the agreement. You have a body of people now, and these people change out, right? And when you had your empires and your emperors and your people and your rulers, those things were passed down, and those people were instructed to follow these agreements. But these people, they change hats. This is where they flipping into this Republican, Democrat, Socialist, all this different type of parties and ideologies where it changes within the structure, and they're utilizing that to circumvent these agreements. Regardless of what you say, I get you, I agree with you, but that doesn't mean you have an excuse to not keep your word.
You do though.
Mm.
So in the format of me orchestrating a way for me to recognize you, you didn't orchestrate this format or this document. This document is in the language and in terminology that I constructed. Now, when I construct this treaty, and I don't know where's your signature, how you really identify to it is kind of, you know, um, tribal again, placing yourself in a tribe, which was which was identified that the tribe gave United States control of the land. Period. So
Hmm.
that treaty is holding in existence. The treaty that came up until anything that was put in a treaty prior to 17 96 failed to hold any grounds in 1886 by way of, even if it was ratified or re-implemented or re-established in 1886, you had a whole new company that was in representation of the 1776 company. It's not the same company. It's emulated or example as the same, but it's not. It's gone through a bankruptcy period and it's gone through a whole new foundation. So now that someone comes to reestablish something, it's going to be in their own essence of what
Right.
they create out of an Apache, what they want to call an Indian, or Cherokee, what they want to see identify, who's up under their structure of um, um, Indian affairs, recognized by way of an extension from the United States by way of the United States government. The Indian affairs subdivision is a United States branch.
Okay, right there. Now that you're making my point. I know you want to say it like you're saying it from the other side. You're actually making. This is why I'm doing this. I'm making my point. If they went bankrupt and they reorganize into something else, treaties are done, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so if
It's-
treaties are done, then what you need to, well, not what you need to, but what really should be said is that we really been in a silent war for a minute now, because the treaties they reorganized, they did what they did, and because these are binding between the parties, just like we talked about yesterday with Root, is that these are binding between the parties, and if you reorganize, you do that, you had to get permission, not even you had to get permission to continue under this new organization.
okay, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is what I'm trying to say. The permission of the individuals that was in representation of having the ability to give permission or the ability to be a part of attached to a treaty of 1776. Those individuals are no longer in existence. The existence of the individuals that's now in place are United States citizens. United States citizens playing Indian. United States citizens playing Cherokee and Chickasaw and Choctaw. All of these are not in the status of what it was once before when the treaties first was in place. So when the United States come around and they put in a place to represent the treaty after the 99-year point, and now they want to reestablish a new treaty or under the foundation of what they want to claim and recognize, they all United States citizens who's going to be affiliated with this goddamn treaty now.
Mm-hmm.
So the treaty has no substance of 1880 something. Well, it was ratified in 1888, I believe it was. Shit, in 1866, they came out with the civil rights and affiliated all motherfuckers a part of the United States. When prior to that, only a United States citizen was a free white man. But in 1866, they had already made everyone a part of the United States. So you ain't have no representation as a treaty or an Indian or a part of a tribal community because it's not there in place any longer. No one's
Right.
representing it.
Right. And so that's where I noticed in the 1866, 68 treaties is that there was an Indian agent involved in some of these things with their signature on it.
All of them, all of those things.
Right. Right.
To do any business with the United States, and you was considered tribal non-affiliated, if anyone in the tribe did any business with the United States, as far as with the Congress or any of that, you was considered an Indian agent. You was non-affiliated with the tribal affairs any longer from that point because you were seen as a spy. You were deemed as a spy.
That's right.
And what Dominion agents was doing was signing treaties, bringing in their people under the treaty, bringing in the community under the treaty, and fucking selling out everybody. And everybody wasn't even part of that shit.
Yeah,
Signing
that's
the whole tribe over to do business with the Congress, but we're not taxed. So the fuck? I mean, how you gonna tax the man who's fucking giving you the merchandise? How you gonna tax me and I'm giving you the merchandise to go eat, to go make an income off of? That don't make sense. That and really that's not what that's in place for. It's for the fucking tribe, not the company not to be involved in the tax, not an individual. The
mm,
company.
mm,
Everyone want to run around. "Oh, Indian's non-tax. Indian is in a company non-taxed. The fuck? Everybody want to be an Indian because they think they can walk around in non-tax. That ain't. It's not in the representation of an individual. I don't know what the words might be layman's as we're expressing it to each other, but in law, that's not what that means. Indian means a tribe. Member of a tribe is a member of an Indian nation. Not saying that the individual is Indian. We got to get that out of our head. It's never been that. Never been that.
mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that one.
So we run with these terminologies like it really stands for individual. But when you're in inside of your community-based format as a tribal base, you're not even deemed as an Indian at all. You never will be.
That's the bottom line. So if and you know people want to actually give these people some type of authority, and you know you can connect yourself to these people if you want. That's why I said initially, I want to find out if I got traitors in my family. I want to know. I want to know what these people were. I want to know they was Huguenots or they was they was playing. They was they was 007s or whatever. I wasn't there. I just want to know. You see what I'm saying? Because my mind ain't like theirs. I don't know what they was doing at that time.
Exactly, bro. I don't know what the fuck my ancestors or my lineage or my genealogical line wrote down and contracted and who they fucking. I don't know, man. For as what I'm seeing, I'm under a birth certificate. They been sold me out.
Bingo.
The
And
fuck?
that's the cold thing about it because people want to give this and this is why this is why I'm doing it like this because what does it matter? You got to know what it is, and if you know what it is, you can move forward in what you want to change within yourself. You could correct a record. You can make it right, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
Because your
But
testimony stands
I know based on my family, shit, yeah, we was on some different type of time. You know what I'm saying? We
based
was
on
on,
mine too. We had plantations and turned them into businesses and everything all through the states and through the islands. So I don't know what these cats around here talking about. Oh, you ain't from the mainland, man. If that's the case, ain't nobody from the fucking mainland. Goddamn, I got people all over this bitch. from ancient times, from plantation times. The fuck is you talking about?
All
Get the
right,
fuck out of
so
here. I know they sold out, bro. I know what they was on.
right, and there you go. But
I don't take no pride in it.
and at this point in time, can't nobody say that they ancestors or they forefathers and foremothers hands, really forefathers hands is clean under the circumstances until you know that they're not.
Mic check, mic check. All right. Yeah, none your business. I see what you're saying, sister. But you have to understand, Indian is tribe. It's tribal. It's a tribe. So you need to be registered under this tribe to be identified as a member of this tribe. There's no single Indian. And when you represent Indian, you represent a commercial based functioning of pre-colonial existence. But they're recognizing it under their umbrella of construction. It's not it's not of an indigenous concept, my princess. And I know it might be touching, it might be, what we're being told in a essence of indigenous aspect, what an Indian might be representing or what it should be representing. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. Please don't take that as I'm disagreeing with you on that. What I'm saying specifically by laws, they're in law, isn't in the layman terms on what my grandmother told me. You see what I'm saying? Even on my birth certificate, it's identifying me as a tribe, a part of a tribe. Saponi. So I'm on my birth paper is claiming I'm a Saponi. So what I'm saying is that's a legalese format of identification is totally different than what we're identifying Indian and indigenous aspects are. That we have to get out of our feelings to understand law, to understand and represent it in its proper essence of our representation. We have to. We got to come out of these heartstrings when we're dealing with each other and speaking in these matters.
Okay, hit the link. Hit the link. If you guys want to come up, go hit the link. I think it's pinned at the top. Hold on, let me check. Make sure it's pinned at the top. There you go. Yep, it's pinned at the top. All right, so now I want to deal with this right here. Okay, so if we dealing with this right here, as I was breaking some of this stuff down, and now I know you just got here, now you but kind of go back a little bit because I just did a basic conversation with the chat in regards to and I don't mind going back. Let me go back and read this. My initial question. Let's talk treaties historically to the present day. And my question is, tell me when was the first treaty documented in world history, who it was between, and the significance. Okay, so that's the initial question that I had uh, for this chat in regards to treaties. Where we at? Where we at? Let's get back to went too far. Okay, let's get it. Let's bring it on down. Treaties within domestic treaties not binding. Big takeaway. Okay, so All right, and where we're at right now is now how treaty concepts relate to indigenous treaties, U.S. treaty obligations, and sovereignty. So I asked the chat to give me that. But first, I want to talk to Nadia about this right here. So this Latin term that was in the conversation in the chat, that they came up with this Latin phrase, pacta sunt servanda, is a fundamental legal principle translating from Latin to agreements must be kept. So regardless if we're dealing with corporation, states, and all the different uh, amalgamations, assimilations, changes, adjustments, this right here is your fundamental principle definition or phrase in regards to the treaties. So if that's the case, agreements must be kept. They cannot be breached. They cannot be changed amongst the parties, right? Remember, Root Word was saying yesterday, right, when we talked about contract, it's the meeting of the minds and it's binding, right? We had binding in this treaty language too as well. So if agreements, well, let me say this. Let me ask this first. Do you agree or disagree that agreements have been kept by both sides? Not one side, both,
Both sides of who?
both sides. We're dealing with America. We're dealing with the Americas. So the treaties that was done with the Americas and
I'd like
these 13 colonies, the United States, which has now become the United States, have treaties, have agreements been kept.
between uh, the Indians and the United States.
Yeah, let's just say the
Yeah, yeah,
American,
yeah,
they've been kept
yes,
up to this
yes,
date.
yes.
Who's signing off on these things?
Man, the Indians are on a reservation, which are the natives. They showed you that you can't represent an individual as an Indian, so they went to the name native to be represented in its correct format and not be affiliated with a whole tribal thing or whole in investment on their representation as what would be implemented as tribe treaties. So they came and separated themselves from that to show that we're members. So we do have our own sovereignty or so, which gotta be constructed up under the United States. All right. Again, they on treaty, they on reservations. They're upholding their side of the treaty, and the United States is upholding them their side of the treaties by protecting them and granting them certain provisions as they're doing what they're doing.
All right, well, I don't know about that. I mean, previously as we spoke, we was talking about some of these treaties that was being signed off on. We talking about 19, not 19, but the 1866 through 68 treaties that was actually being done by Indian agents. How can these Indian agents sign off on treaties and it be valid? How can these
Because
be
they was
agreements being
representing
kept?
the tribe.
How, no. No, no, no,
Yes.
no, no, no. Okay, these Indian agents actually worked for the United States. They did not work for.
They represented the tribe.
They did not. They didn't represent the tribe. Is
Yes, they
that they
did, bro.
did?
Because they was in communication from the tribe to the United States. So
Hmm.
they was in the representation of the tribe, even in speaking the language, writing, reading, occupying any type of identification of United States recognition, it was by way of the tribe.
Okay, so you saying that the you talking about the leaders or the emperors or the chiefs or whatever, the chiefdom, whatever we want to call it, actually are the ones that took appointed these individuals to represent them as an agent in the go between the United States and them. Is that what you're saying? The go between.
I'm saying the tribes were never individuals. It was never the people. The tribes was gonna be the chief of the whole tribe. This is why the 13th Amendment came in,
Right.
bro, because they said this way of thinking was barbaric, that one man is representing millions of people.
Got you. Got you. Okay, so look, let's slow walk this thing, right? Because I did read the fact that all of these treaties, these indigenous treaties, were based off ancient ways of doing things. These were emperors. You said one, right? And there you go. I agree with that. So, but what I'm saying is now we're moving forward. As you said, that these new treaties, or these people said these are ancient old ways, and these things are a little bit different, and that's what the 13th Amendment was about. Okay, we getting somewhere, Nutty. We getting somewhere. Go ahead.
That's why I'm
It-
telling you from jump that the treaties that we're speaking on that was written agreements are not the ancient way of doing treaty.
all right.
That's business. When it's got something to do with contractual agreements, written agreements, that's between corporation.
This is what I'm.
The Indian tribes wasn't represented as countries; they was represented as corporations.
But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. What's up, Taz? But this is what I'm saying. Hold on, real quick, Root Word. I got you, but I got to ask this question first. Was this done unilaterally or bilaterally? You're talking from a different aspect. You're talking from one side saying this is different. Now, is this a meeting of the minds, though? This is what I'm asking you. Was this done unilaterally?
Contractual under corporations is unilaterally. This corporation, which was
Okay,
represented as the Ohioans, this corporation that was represented as the Michigans. It was many little small little tribes in that area, but the main territories, but the main representation was the states that you see today represented as tribes, and they was corporations. That's who they was signing deals with. That's who they was signing deals with, bro. Treaties. That's what them treaties were. It wasn't nothing to do with if you was part of the Wampanoag and they had nothing to do with that bullshit Indian agent shit. You because you was within that territory of identification as the Ohioans or the Texans as Indian cited indigenous Indians. It was in a corporation format, bro. Period.
Hey man, is you weird ass niggas talking about this peace and friendship treaty, man? Cause y'all foul, bro. Y'all real foul, my nigga. But I digress, man.
no, go ahead.
Nah, y'all foul, my nigga. No, foul when I mean
Ain't nobody
disrespectful and
said
foul,
nothing
my
about
nigga. It
no
belong
peace
to
and
the Moors.
ain't nobody said
It
nothing about
belong.
no peace
Go
and
ahead, Naughty.
friendship.
Tell me when you done now. I don't gotta cut you off.
Ain't no one said anything about peace and friendship treaty, bro. You just
Bro, that's
making
what the
shit
name
up.
of this title is. It's treaties.
They didn't
And we
say
know there ain't
shit.
no Indians in treaties, so I ain't gonna cut you off. Just tell me when you're done or I'll leave, man.
I'm
Shit.
not speaking about no peace
Okay,
and
I don't give a fuck
friendship
what you speaking
treaty. I'm
about. You don't gotta
speaking
cut me
about
off, bro.
all treaties.
Well, tell me when your foreign ass is done and I'll go after you, you pathetic fuck.
Fucking peace and friendship treaty ain't even with the goddamn Indians, dummy.
Hey, easy, kid. Come on, man. Get
My
it
nigga, I
off,
said
Root.
everything y'all talking about treaties is fake. Y'all, what time y'all talking about treaties?
All treaties are fake.
See what I'm saying? See, they don't even ain't gonna even put a time to it. I told you this is disgusting.
All treaties are fake.
What up a peace and friendship treaty show that we had an empire over here in 1779?
Nigga, get out of here.
See this? I told y'all they liars. You want me to show it to you? Because I'd already
Nigga,
showed it to you because it was dealing with the Moorish
you
Empire
ain't
over
show
here.
me shit.
And
That
I don't gotta
motherfucker
cut you
dealing.
off, Naughty. Hey, time you want me to leave? This is why nobody
No,
fuck with
That
you
no,
niggas
no,
because
no,
all
that
no,
y'all
no.
want
shit
to
dealing with
perpetrate
the
hate and
The
laws.
Ottomans and the
I'll holler at
motherfucking.
you, Aton. I'll holler at you, bro.
Yeah, good. The Ottomans and the motherfucking United States ain't got shit to do with no goddamn Indian. I'm talking about
Right.
no
Hello,
fucking
Karen. Yo,
Moors.
what's up, gods? What's up, y'all?
Hey, what's
What's
up,
up?
dog?
Ain't
What's up,
nothing, bro.
dog?
No, I'm good, bro. Yeah, go ahead, Nadi. I'm sorry.
All right, so look. Okay, so this question up here, right? We got the native thing going on because you mentioned natives, right? But we know about the Know Nothing Party. These Native Americans, they call themselves Native Americans. How does that play into what's going on and what you're talking about?
Native Americans, members of Indian tribes.
All right. Well, come on, man. You can't go there with it.
I mean that's what the fuck they are. They're not Indians. They're members of an Indian tribe.
You telling me that these natives, right, the Know Nothing parties were a part of Indian tribes.
That's what they affiliated. Yes, they are members of Indian tribes.
All right, so gangs of New York, these white people they're showing, these quote unquote white people they're showing are not actually the people that were a part of the Know Nothings. These were actually all melanated people.
Nah, I ain't saying that. America always had best um skin color people. Anglo. Anglo's been fucking around over in America since 700 BC, 1200 BC.
All right. All right, you didn't throw me a curveball. I wasn't ready for that. And then root work came up here and then bounced. Boy, you better come up here and stand on your shit, man.
Man, that nigga gonna come up here making up shit, bro. For real.
For real.
Yeah, you
Just,
gonna have
just
to come
putting
up
out
here and
random
stand.
words.
Yeah, you
Nigga,
gotta come up here and stand on that shit.
nigga, if I'm
Calling
playing,
people out
yo,
their name.
look, bro, if I'm playing a fucking video game, that's meeting of the minds. What the fuck is he talking about, bro? Everything's a fuck. Matter of fact, tell me what's not a meeting of the minds.
When two
Tell,
people come together.
tell me what. No, tell me what's not, nigga. If I'm laying in the bed with my wife, that's a meeting of the minds. What the fuck is he? He want to say some shit trying to sound smart. You dumb ass. Shut the fuck up, nigga. Look, bro. This, this the whole thing. The mentality of the Europeans was different than the tribes, right? So when you understand how that mentality was, they was always their mentality was monarchy, right? Where you had kings and queens, they was being ruled over. So before you like look at how the tribes react, see the treaties is nothing but a compromise, right? That's the way I look at it, right? Now you're looking at a compromise. All right, this is the way we did it over here in England. This is the way y'all did it over here in America. Let's compromise. That's what a treaty is, right? You're trying to compromise, but you can't compromise with them because the simple fact is when you're dealing with a monarch, right? You're working on behalf of who? The kingdom. So you got dominions, you got kingdoms. We didn't operate like that. We operated more on the fact of we operated for the benefit of the people. You see what I'm saying? So if we had when we had chiefs, the chiefs was operating as beneficiaries was the people. So that gave birth to a certain mentality of okay, oh, I like that when they came over England. Let's work for the people. The people become the beneficiaries. Y'all see how the mental thing is going? Not the kingdom. You see what I'm saying? Why are we working on land and giving all our labor and our wealth to a king and a monarch? Let's say we work for the people and the unborn and the children. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at a treaty, you got to ask yourself a question, right? When you're looking at these contracts, who is it going to benefit? You see what I'm saying? Who are
Yep.
you working for? You see what I'm saying? Who
Yep.
is it? Who are you going? Who is it going to benefit? this side or that side? Is it going to benefit one person or the collective community? You see what I'm saying? So if I look at a contract and I say, well, damn, nigga, y'all get more. Hold up, my people ain't getting nothing out of this deal. You feel me? So you gotta look at from the start of the United States, which is different than after the Civil War, after the
Look,
Organic Act.
let me
Yeah,
show
go
you.
ahead.
Let me show something right quick.
Uh,
When it came to these Indian regulations and Indian acts and shit,
mm-hmm.
the tribe disassociated itself with the people. Understand what I'm saying? The tribe wasn't for the people. It was always for the tribe. So this is
Right,
how a lot of us get kicked out or put on Dawes rolls or Allen rolls or some of these Indian rolls and identifications of their document because you was affiliated by tribal. So when the tribe want to do things with the United States and it's a transition of power, the tribe letting go the people and transferring the people over to the United States citizenry because the tribe has no power anymore over its company affiliates because the company has been taken over.
right,
And we're not understanding that it was just company and everybody that was on them rolls or everyone that's affiliated with this citizenship that's on these census are employees to a employer. And we're not understanding. We don't want to see it like that. We don't want to identify it because we want to be stay in layman terms. But in law, when you go to court and you identify as an Indian, they're gonna say, "What kind of Indian is you?" You're gonna say Choctaw. What tribe? Choctaw tribe. Okay, so where's your tribe affiliated? Where's it registered? Where's it identified? What business does it do? How is it identified? Just being some niggas being in a community on the land ain't doing shit. That don't work like that. You're not gonna be identified. You got to be in corporation. You got to be moving some type of resources or money movement, money management. If not, you're not gonna be identified in the United States as a tribe. This shit is crazy, bro.
So my question is this, right? Because I just did a random thing nonetheless. I did the chat thing, basic question, and they pretty much stated that, kind of what the exception was on this thing is that indigenous treaties were based on old law. Old law meaning that it was an emperor or a king, whatever you want to call them, that did that on behalf of the people. Now, if we know the breakdown of things, isn't that emperor the king or the chief a servant to the people?
Mm-mm.
yeah.
No,
He would be a
no.
servant of the people, but you gotta understand that okay, he's gonna be loyal to his people of a certain bloodline. But when you get foreigners come, see that's the problem. When you get foreign people start to and begin to come into your territory, they become second-hand, second-class members. That's why when you see the members of tribes, they was always treated as second to us. Now, of course, that's going to breed jealousy, envy. You know what I mean? But that's not our fucking fault. You feel me? That's not our fault. We was already here. You see what I'm saying? It's a tribe, so we set the rules. So just because you come in from somewhere else, don't be trying to come over here thinking you're gonna get the same treatment as the people that built this shit. You see what
Let
I'm
me
saying?
let me
So
ask some.
that was the problem. I'm telling y'all, that was the
Let me
fucking problem
let me ask you
because
something.
now
No,
you start importing more and more of these people. Now the tribes still have power because we can say, okay, we like this person. We can cherry pick who we want to make members of our society. However, when the United States went to war with the tribes, they created their own citizens tree. Y'all see what I'm saying? That was the problem. Cause now we like, hold up, how can the fuck y'all, you know what I mean, make y'all own member, your own citizens tree on our shit? You feel me? And land that's not even your land and is only a 10-mile radius. How is the people all the way in Alabama, in Maryland, all of these states, how are they members of the District of Columbia? Y'all see what I'm saying? These are our people. That's what the Civil War was about. Right
Well,
there.
let me ask you something.
They broke the agreement. You know what I
Let
mean? We should pick and choose. We don't like you, get the fuck out. We like you, you stay here. You work for us on our plantation. Boom, boom, boom. We had the power to pick who was the citizen or members of our tribe, but they didn't have any inheritance. Fair, but that's fair, right? Nigga, y'all weren't born here. But the United States comes in and makes their own citizen tree. And that's where the 14th Amendment, 13th, 14th Amendment, bro. Y'all see what
now
I'm saying? So if you
you
don't
mentioned
know this, bro,
13th Amendment.
you can't sit here and argue with the gods like that, man.
As you mentioned the 13th Amendment, let me
You know
say
what I mean?
something.
Y'all
What
can't
is
see that, but at the
none,
same time, you can understand
none.
that what they did. Like you put yourself in their shoes, the foreigners' shoes, you can see where they didn't have any power and they kind of planned this from the jump street when they signed those treaties. This was their plan from the jump to bring their own citizen tree over
None.
to our
Hey,
land, bro,
nonetheless,
and cut us
nonetheless.
out. You know what I
Can
mean?
you hear me?
Where we
None.
didn't have the power to pick members and
Mic
citizens of a
check.
tribe and shit, and not give them inheritance or land rights and shit. You know what I mean? Because you can see it through how they move.
I don't think
Oh,
you
let's
can
go
hear me,
get your
Aton.
homestead at. Let's, you know what I mean? Getting land and shit that they
Can you hear
Yeah,
that
me,
we wouldn't
Aton?
give them. You feel me?
yeah.
That we wouldn't give them.
Mic
Go ahead,
check.
man.
No, mic check. Can you hear
I
me?
hear you. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, he can't. He can't. Nonetheless, you can't hear Nadia. Huh?
No, I can't hear nothing. I'll come back in. Give me a
All
second.
right.
All right.
Okay, my question was, what representation do you have as an Indian? Give me your representation and where did you get this representation from? Please let me know.
Okay. So, nonetheless, he asks, uh, where did you get your representation from as being an Indian?
And what is the representation
And what is the representation
of what an Indian is?
of what an Indian is? You still there now? I know he's still up there, but maybe.
Yeah, he lagging. Maybe it's taking time to drop off for him to come back up. But this is the question that I want every individual to ask themselves. Then what I want you to know is Nadi has basically the same identity in layman terms that you would perhaps come up with the identity of. But in the 13th Amendment, and I want you to hear this closely, the whole script of the 13th Amendment is giving you an example of what the fucking Indian is. And it's telling you it's a corporation where one man rules over everybody, which is barbaric. That's what the 13th Amendment is all about, bro. Eradicating the Indian. It's 700 pages. I read the whole fucking thing. I'm just saying, man. I got it in my phone. I sent it to you. You can read the whole fucking thing. It's 700 pages. The 13th Amendment and 14th Amendment had a lot. No, the original 14th Amendment was a book that was published by the is what you're talking about? That was no, listen. The 13th Amendment was a book that was published by the Library of Congress and adopted as the 13th Amendment. They just shortchanged it in some small words to give you what you're seeing today. But it's a 700-page document, bro.
Hey, nonetheless, come back up. I saw
That's
you
why that
down.
woman said the other day that the 13th Amendment been hidden from you. Woo, 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 wop, wop, wop. Because everyone ain't noticed in this fact. The 17th, 13th Amendment got rid of the Indian, bro, because the United States identified the shit as barbaric, how it
Hey,
was being handled.
real quick. Nonetheless, mic check. Mic check.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yep. Can
Yeah,
you
All
hear
right,
us?
all right, all right, all right, all right.
All right,
yeah, you
great.
hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. I hear you.
So my question was, what do you identify as an Indian to be, and what where do you get this perception from?
You can't.
You said my question.
Yeah, that was everyone. That's a
That's
question.
everybody got to
That's
answer that.
everyone. That's to
What
everyone.
makes you think you're Indian?
What is an Indian?
Well, the Indian is really a representative of each tribe that was sent to
So
DC in
literally,
order to
Google.
negotiate what we wanted from the District of Columbia. That's really from what I've read, what I know. That's what an Indian was. Because see,
A agent to the
right,
company.
agent. Yes,
Exactly. They're
it was a
agents.
so
Indians
each
are agents.
right each tribe sent an Indian, which is an agent to. This is where they came up with the House of Representatives from. Where y'all think it came from, bro?
What
It
what
came from
what
the
what do you
Indians.
what do you
Go
say when
ahead.
they say native? They're
Right,
natives.
right, because that
They
was
separate themselves from being an Indian. They
No,
just
no,
a
no.
member of the
I'm
tribe.
just saying. If they
right.
come and say, "Oh, I'm not an Indian, I'm a native,"
I'm a Native
they haven't been
American. I'm
served.
a Native American member
They
of
haven't had a
Choctaw
right.
tribe,
The
Indian
native,
tribe.
the
The
native
Indian
was
tribe
member.
is a company. They're a
Right,
member of the
Right, but it
company.
still puts
right,
you in the jurisdiction because you're
right.
allowing them to say you're American.
There's not one Indian. There's not one single individual Indian. That shit got to
They
get
know
thrown out the goddamn window. And when
exactly.
you see
What
what
I'm
an
saying to
Indian
you when some
is a
say
fucking company.
Yeah.
when some
Okay.
say I'm a native American, you're still putting yourself in a loophole, bro. That's what I'm saying. Because you're
Because
saying you're American, Native American.
But
because they
they're
Who
went to
told
telling the
you
war.
truth.
that? Who told you that
No,
you're American?
they're telling the truth. They're saying they brought in upspring in America. So they're really a foreign entity that was
Right,
brought here and was able to
All
adapt to the
right, that's
land.
what I'm saying.
They're telling the truth.
right.
They're not
Yeah,
saying they're indigenous. They're not
right.
saying they're original, the origin.
They they they
They're
they
saying they're
going by that
native,
birthright. They going birthright. That's like a
birthright,
birthright citizen.
right,
Yeah.
birthright. But me and my people are from the soil,
Right, right,
organically, indigenously. So an indigenous outlook would be more in a
You want to go
representation.
organic. You want to go organic.
Indigenous and
Indigenous
is
organic.
organic, but see, indigenous is more of
Before
a
the
better
ideology,
outlook to represent oneself
no,
than a goddamn Indian,
hold up.
because an Indian is in their documentations
Which means
under
you made a treaty. You
representation.
made a
right.
contract. You're in their contract.
The shit is
They
Yeah,
don't
crazy.
ever
People
say
want to
you're
yeah.
identify
Indian.
it to something that you never want to be into. That you don't. They the
Right.
ones that
You're a
saying they
native.
sold out their rights of sovereignty to the United States citizenry.
Yeah. That's because but they always did that. See, you can see them doing it today. The House of Representatives selling out to who? These Somalians. They selling out. You know what I mean? So that's why when we say something, I always qualify to the same shit that they doing today. That way you ain't saying, oh, you just reading shit. When I'm looking at what they doing today, and I'm looking at what they doing in history, and I'm matching it up. That way we got more credibility because you can see today if they not doing it today, I don't really pay attention to that history shit. You feel me? Too much. Cause zebra don't ever change the stripes, bro. They gonna keep doing the same shit. You see what I mean? So that's how I know that's what they did, bro.
All right, so real quick. Now, what I got on the screen here, because I'm seeing I'm listening, I'm listening to you, Nadi.
Hmm.
But if we knew we had treaties here, and let's say people did cross the line and decided to try to keep their indigenous status and then still work for the United States or participate with the United States.
Hmm.
And we know that the 1860, them 1860 plus treaties were maybe done by Indian agents. I think they were done by Indian agents that actually were participating in working with the United States. how can you make that one big lump of people that actually was doing that? That's what I'm saying.
bro. What I'm saying is, how you gonna claim a treaty when 1866 civil rights put all Indians and everybody under citizenry?
I don't agree with that.
Go read it.
I did.
It tells you, bro, that all are afflicted to the United States. Indians are non-taxed. And all the enslaved are U.S. citizenry now. This is
The
the reason.
14th Amendment.
This is the reason. The whole reason they came up with the 1866 is because the Dred Scott case that said that niggas wasn't citizens. So they were
Gotcha.
like, hell no, we got to have these Indians as our property.
That's what
Now
they
I'm gonna
said.
Right.
use this.
So
Now
they
I'm gonna
came
use
and made
this.
all niggas their
Hey, check
property,
this out.
Indians and everything.
If you look
Now
what
I'm
their
gonna use.
bylaws are, it says
Now
subjects.
but check this out. Check this out, y'all. I'm gonna utilize, even though root word be ass backwards sometime. I'm gonna utilize something he always say. These imaginary borderlines, and I think this is what these borderlines, these imaginary borderlines, allow the United States to kind of quietly trespass in our areas, and then you think that just because they're saying Indian not tax that we're actually participating with the United States, that makes us not subject to, that keeps us outside the system. I mean, because the 14th Amendment, Section 2, is an amendment to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. It's a part of recognition. In treaties, is recognition. Recognition, recognizing who we are, and we recognize who you are. You stay over there, we stay over here, and we're just conducting business and trade. That's it. The initial Indian agents at that time, those Indian departments that they had in those four areas, were specifically for making sure that those United States citizens did not violate the law that we created for them. How are you taking the power from the indigenous nations here and actually think that the United States had that much power in order to do that? I'm not going to agree with that.
Right.
I'm not agreeing with that now, Cash. Not agreeing with it. I
But
think it's been flipped around, and this is why we need to talk about this shit, because I'm of the thought that hell no, that shit was done in a different way underneath the rug and right up under our noses. The next
All
thing
right.
you know, we woke up the next day and then we became United States citizens somehow.
Let me let
hey,
me let me
They
give you
need these
this.
Indian agents to do it.
let me ask him something real quick, Nadi. Aton, you brought something interesting because I didn't. Now you got me thinking because all right, you said something about Indian not tax, and that's right there is an assumption that we participate in the first place. You see what I'm saying?
Hell no.
It
Exactly.
is.
No, no,
We
it's
were
not.
right.
It is. Hold up now.
Hey, hold
Before
on,
you
Naughty, hold on, Naughty, real quick, bro. Hey, look,
Dang.
listen, listen. Look, here's the issue. If you actually look at Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, Indians are the only name in there, only title. Everybody else is free persons and other free fish, this, that, and the other. Nobody else got a name but the Indians.
No, that's tribal. That's companies, bro. That's not an individual.
Hey, maybe. No, I'm not saying it's individual. It is the conglomerate. I know it is. So anybody that is to be an Indian is not to be taxed and not to be trespassed upon.
As
Period.
as in
Now, on the other
commerce,
end, now
commerce,
on the
right?
other end, the recognition goes both ways. We are not to participate in government affairs. We are not to vote. We are not to pay taxes. We are not to try to run for any office. This is why you had the 1964 Voter Rights Act. And we're talking 1964. But you're saying the 1866 in Civil Rights Act had something to do with us. No, it didn't.
I'm gonna go prior to that, bro. I'm gonna give you the 1830 Indian Removal Act
Okay.
that
You
placed
got hey,
hold on, that placed all treaties and all Indian affairs under military law, military rule, military
What year
construct.
was that?
They have shit to 1830.
The Pope wrote. The Pope wrote three Cita Victus, and so he made it clear on the very beginning. All everything is is commercial. Matter of fact, there wrote another letter, the Pope apologizing to the people and separating themselves. So believe that it goes way beyond that.
Okay, I got you. But that will be kind of a digression, but we can actually talk about that in a minute. But I want Nadi to make this clear to me because
Mm.
based on my discernment of what I'm reading, my reading comprehension,
Mm-hmm.
there's still treaties they're in place, right? Article 1, Section 8 is the Indian Commerce Clause that deals with Indians, and you got the Treaty of New York. I
Which
showed
is
it.
commercial.
Commercial,
It's
bro.
It
commercial,
is
bro.
commercial.
All right, but
Okay, but
listen. What I'm
it's
trying to show you
commercial.
It's
is in
commercial.
1830, the Indian Removal Act.
So
Indian
how does that
Removal
make you
Act.
subject
Listen.
to?
Hold on.
How do
18.
you make that subject to? No, you're gonna say the same thing over again.
I'm trying to get you to understand.
How you gonna
It
make
play.
us how
Let
you
me
gonna
get it
make the
out. Let me
indigenous
get it out.
Indians subject to? How you
And
gonna make them
let me
subject
get
to?
it out. I'm finna
If
show
this is
you.
Damn.
business and this is a meeting of the
Damn,
minds,
bro, this shit crazy. I'm
both
trying to
sides
show
has
it
a
to you.
binding
Allow
agreement.
me to give it to you, please,
All right,
Aton.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
In
let him
18
have it, though.
in 1830, the Indian Removal Act placed all Indian affairs away from Congress and under the executive powers.
And
That
that's
made
when they
it
wrote the letters.
military. That made it military control. Now them treaties ain't got shit to do with nothing no more because you're not even dealing with the Congress anymore,
They
bro.
laughing. That's why they laugh at us when we say What was that? Monte Carlo Treaty. All that
That's a
stuff.
mis
Yeah, it's bad.
to me,
Can't
that's
do
a
that.
misinterpretation of what you're reading.
Man, go and read it, bro.
I
It puts
read
the
it.
All Indians under
All Indians
executive
corporations.
power, bro. It's not under Congress.
It's
The
all
Let me
Indians
ask.
are corporations.
judicial or the
All right.
legislation. It's not under legislation
You can't
anymore.
say
It's
All right.
under executive control.
you
All
can't
right.
say you're Indian.
So the treaties don't mean shit no more because the people that was representing it and identifying it is not there any longer, bro. It's gone.
So
Right,
you gotta do it.
Nah,
right. And
nah,
they, yeah,
Yes.
because
nah. I'm about
yeah,
to show
because
you.
Yes.
I'm about to show you.
they putting it under they putting the United States as a battleground now under Article 2, which makes it emergency under emergency war powers now.
All
So
right. But see,
right,
you talking about emergency war powers, but
yeah, but
that's
that's what
that's way
right,
down the line.
right. But look, with the
It
United States is
eradicates
doing,
anything else.
yeah, because they what they
Right now,
saying
to this
now
day, there
is
is
that
a
they using
military
title by
war
conquest.
executive.
Called
Hold
the
on, one
Trade
mic,
with the
one mic,
India
one
Act,
mic, one mic, one
It's
mic.
1970.
still the
Still
president
in.
has never changed it.
Yeah.
He's never stopped
The Congress
shut it
changed
down.
it, but we don't
No,
represent the change. Yeah, they
no,
changed it in
yeah,
1974. They changed it.
But that's what
but
I'm saying. Go ahead, go ahead. Hold on, one mic. Go ahead, Nadi. I mean, go ahead. Nonetheless, go ahead, land, and I'm gonna read this to you guys. You guys see the screen? See
no.
the
Go ahead,
screen,
read
right?
it. Go ahead, read it.
No, go ahead. Nonetheless, go
All
ahead,
right,
land
look,
real
look,
quick.
look. This is why I said pay attention to what's going on now, right? What's going on now is that Congress right now is doing the same fucking thing we talking about. They're saying that Trump doesn't have the authority to wage war. You feel me? That's why I'm laughing, bro. Cause y'all gotta pay attention. Bro.
Yeah, because they took the authority away
Yeah,
from him in
yeah.
1974.
Right, but what he's saying, Pete Hegseth saying, he's the Secretary of War, right? He's saying that they don't have that was just an agreement, is not in the Constitution. They don't have to communicate with Congress in order to wage war. He said
Nope.
that's not in the Constitution. That's just an agreement, like a handshake agreement. You feel me? If they want to take go to war with another
I believe that
country,
what he's saying.
Yeah, it's true.
executive
That's true.
the fucking Article
That's
2,
what
which is the
Bush did.
president,
Bush did
has
the
the
same thing.
yes, he has the
He had
authority
no war
without
effort, so he
without
created
Made it
one.
on their own.
And can't
yeah
One mic, one mic,
Clinton did the
one
same
mic,
thing.
one
He
mic,
had no
one mic,
war.
one mic, one mic,
yeah.
one
Can
mic.
y'all hear me? You see what
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead,
saying?
Nadi. We can hear you. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So he doesn't have to. It doesn't matter what Congress is talking about now. You understand? Because the president now says, "Yo, look, man, we have a problem, and I'm here to protect the interests of the borders of the United States. They was going to be a threat. I don't have to communicate with Article 1 about
Hell
war.
yeah. Hell yeah. Nonetheless, that's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I,
what I'm saying. So that's why when I say the treaties don't meet, Article 2 don't care about them treaties. You know what I mean? Nigga, we going to war. We taking this shit. You feel me? Fuck them treaties. And you
yeah,
can
but
see that's what they did. They got their armies, marched their ass out, let's fight. Now, you feel
all
me?
right. All right. So nonetheless, right, under those circumstances, Article 2 is your executive or your military power, right? But what I'm saying is that whose military was it at that time? They didn't have no military. When they formulated, they didn't have no military. The
All right.
military was the British Crown, and then
Yup.
the military was the American indigenous military. They didn't
Right.
have no military during that time.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. That's
We fought them wars.
right.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's that in the agreements and the treaties, what they had, their duty was to protect the ports, not anything else. The
Right.
ports. Okay, so let me get in this. Y'all hold on real quick. Let me read this real quick because I figured it would go here. Now, I asked this question. It asks about this doctrine, the doctrine of plenary power, and how it allowed Congress to override treaty obligations. This is what Nadi's talking about. The doctrine you're asking about is called the Indian Plenary Power Doctrine. It is one of the most controversial doctrines in U.S. constitutional law because it allows Congress to exercise near complete authority over Native American tribes, even overriding treaties. The Indian Plenary Power Doctrine. Definition. The plenary power doctrine holds that Congress has broad and nearly unlimited authority over native, dodge that native, and indigenous American tribes in tribal affairs. Plenary literal means full, complete, or absolute power. Under this doctrine, Congress can regulate tribal governments, control tribal land, modify or even break treaty obligation, legislate over internal tribal affairs. This doctrine developed primarily through U.S. Supreme Court decisions in the late 1800s and early 1900s. This doctrine developed primarily through U.S. Supreme Court decisions in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Here are cases right here. United States versus Kagama. What the court held, the Supreme Court upheld the Major Crimes Act of 1885, which allowed federal courts to prosecute certain crimes committed by Native Americans on reservations. And you can find this on the Title 25 USC, which is the Indian codes. And basically, if you look at all the codes they run through there, all these codes they utilize is Title 18 USC, which is your criminal code. You see what I'm saying? Now, in doing so, the court declared that Congress has authority over Indian affairs based on the tribe's status as dependent domestic nations. This decision became the foundation for the idea that Congress possesses plenary power over tribes. The case that expanded that doctrine, Lone Wolf versus Hitchcock, what the court said, they ruled Congress could unilaterally, keep using that word now, you've been hearing me, unilaterally break or modify treaties with the native tribes. This was huge because treaties are normally considered binding international agreements.
But look, Aton, what's the key word in that statement though? That made everything that the Supreme Court a fact and they write about. What's the key word? Dependent.
Right.
You feel
Dependent.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you become a dependent, you feel me? Now you are now subject to. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
You're subject to now. Just that one word right there modified that whole statement and made it a fact. That's why they saying what they saying. Cause y'all now are not self-sufficient anymore. You're coming to us a whole lot, ain't y'all? just like we playing. You feel?
That's
They,
what I'm saying. But
yeah.
it was done. It was done through interpretation through the Supreme Court. This is where all these acts and these codifications come through. We didn't have nothing to do with that. This is my argument. We had nothing to do with that. They did that on their own, right up under our noses.
I got you, but it's almost like they manifest. They can write it down into law until it becomes the a reality. You see what
Okay,
I'm
so
saying?
that's no different, nonetheless, than the doctrine of discovery and manifest
Yep.
destiny. Then,
Thank you. I told
all
you
right,
they keep doing the same thing, bro. How many times I gotta say that? They doing the same thing.
all
They
right,
all learn from the same teachers. The same master taught all of them how to do it. And
okay,
we keep
so
falling for it.
okay, so damn, man, I gotta roll, y'all. Shit, man, I want to keep this going.
No, you
I
good,
got I
bro.
got I got I got a I got a meeting at 4:30. So all right, let's pick this up tomorrow
Okay.
and look for me nonetheless.
All right.
Because I'm gonna go anywhere between 1 at latest 1:30. I'm gonna try to keep it between them based on what I'm doing, and then we can kind of bring it back. But yeah, man, y'all hold on it, man. I appreciate y'all coming up here. Man,
All right.
I wish I didn't have to roll right now, but man, let's get hey Nadi, appreciate y'all. Taz, what's up?
All right, bro.
Bless.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah, bless, brother.
All
All
right,
right.
yeah, keep coming through.
We'll try to get there tomorrow. We got to go to work. You heard what I'm saying? We run our
Oh
own
yeah,
shit over here.
Yeah, everybody
hey,
doing
We
it.
got to
hey,
do that.
hey,
Yeah, we are.
long as y'all just tap in just for a minute, hit the like button, say what's up to me. You know what I'm saying?
Bless,
Y'all come
bless,
in,
bless.
you get your breaks, say what's happening.
It's
And
raining
then,
tomorrow. We ain't doing shit.
Whatever he says,
I
bro.
be I
Nah,
be
he
I be here.
crazy. We're going to work in
We
the
ain't
rain,
doing
man.
no
I don't care.
motherfucking
You
work.
better go get him a plastic bag, put it over his head.
Ain't nothing
We going
happening
to work.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we are.
Might go
Yeah, we are.
fishing.
No, we're not. Crazy as
uh,
heck, man. Dude,
Ain't doing a
crazy.
goddamn
He
thing.
coming. No, hell
Hey,
no. We
we
doing
check
work.
out tomorrow. Check out tomorrow.
Y'all funny, yo.
y'all crazy. All
All
right,
right,
man.
y'all.
Yeah,
Hey,
Y'all
we
look,
funny as
crazy
shit,
over
yo.
here. We going to work.
No, ain't no work
I
tomorrow.
heard that. I heard that shit. You know, it is what it is.
That's what we do out here, man. We
Hey,
ain't no
that's what
clock
gotta
in,
be
clock
done.
out. We got to do what got to do. Make some money.
Hey,
Rain or
that's what I'm
shine, we
talking
making
about.
money.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, big brothers. Catch y'all later.
All right, now y'all be easy.
Bless.
All right, bless, bro. All right, y'all. Yeah, I gotta roll. I gotta roll. Hey, appreciate y'all coming, Mama Chief. Appreciate you coming up here. We're gonna roll with these last ones, and then shit, we're gonna call it a day. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna call it a day. And yeah, we're gonna keep this going. This is very important. We gotta talk about these things. We gotta know what's actually going on. And we gotta see where the misunderstanding kind of lies in regards to getting this information straight, because you gotta have a claim. If you ain't got no claim, then you pretty much got to just deal with what it is. You see how difficult and complex this is? One thing you're going to have to do is tip your cap. You know what I'm saying? Tip your cat, or for the women, give you a curtsy to our forefathers and foremothers. Obviously, they knew what was going on. They kind of complicated things, and they pretty much only made it to where they can only do one thing, what they're doing today. And that is create another complex structure. Well, back in the day, we call technology. You see what I'm saying? In order to confuse the situation for generations to come. But with that being said, let's get to it.
And I carried the European taught the European children coming back.
They just wanna keep us asleep. I know this shit suck, but when the fuck when niggas wake up, I know this shit tough. Every other step you take, you get your foot stuck. Cause they go and show you the fly with some niggas pushed up. Religion is a part of the system, my nigga, listen. If you ain't got control of your soul, then you's a victim. The Pope all over the net with politicians. The same politicians who sleeping with little children. Time to make them pay for what they did to the youth. But freedom of speech is nothing when they censoring truth. You ain't gotta show shit when you live in the proof. Giving support to your oppressors, man, you niggas is goofs. Time to fight fire with fire, get on some nigga shit. Time to get back what they stole, all of our innocence. Some people hate the way that I talk, this shit be spicy. But say a bunch of shit that ain't true, it isn't likely. They try to say your vision ain't true, but with your sight see. The best way to tear you apart is through your psyche. I give it to you real, what you need me to say. Ask the world leaders about the oath they secretly take. It's a plan that they got to keep us legally slaves. Paid labor overwhelming when you needed a break. If you think that I'm just talking, then bitch, you lost. It's a war going on like rich versus poor. The rich keep getting rich while your broke ass starve. Feeding you little pennies at that punk ass job. Thinking cause you get it in tax, you need that income. Really, I'm just stating the facts cause niggas been dumb. Your emotions are controlled by a system. Cause when I make a song full of hate, niggas listen. When I make a song about love, niggas skip it. They both from the soul, so really ain't nothing different. Today you gotta give it a fight to make the hate stop. Niggas on that ignorant shit gon' get a face shot. Believe what you wanna believe. A lot of niggas snakes, only going off of belief. A lot of shit is fake with 2 cans blazing. I'm ready for damnation. So tell a slave master I'm burning the plantation. You fuck niggas like to throw pain but can't take it. So all during war these flames remain sacred. Barrel to the root of your tongue, you niggas tasteless. Lights flying over your head, it ain't a spaceship. The reason why we fully equipped was information. It led us on the path that got us out of the matrix. Unity is power beyond, we should embrace it. But you could never bathe in the truth when you were racist. Speeding off what you was taught, then the brakes slip. Then you see it's nothing you thought, that shit is dangerous. A lot of people dying for what? That shit was aimless. It's kinda like a video game, it took stages. Just make sure these lanes remain nameless. Hood politics part 2, my name dangerous.
Yeah, I can get your land back. Yeah, I can discharge your debt. You gotta live by 5 principles before we just connect. Cause you could pose as my friend and then really be the threat. Like Brutus the Julius to the dudes that killed Malcolm X.
Get your hand out of my pocket! What you doing in my pocket, nigga? You better get your hands out of my pocket! Get your hands out! Brother, please.
Y'all think getting remedies important. We making lawyers lose their indemnity insurance. King Chameleon, private, I don't wanna be popular. Grandpapa, Hulk Papa, Mama Black Mafia. Yeah, we them big owners holding rank. You call Rocket Lawyer, I call the owner of the bank. He in the private at the temple, like Ginobili in the paint. And we got 3 militaries, we might be rolling in some tanks. While you balancing with a check gross, going to work for debt notes. Overtime all your life, paying mortgages, then you left broke. Damn. Shout out to Mayweather, who's obviously woke. He settled $18 million with a promissory note. I'm not your corporation's chattel, this world gotta be a joke. Blind leading the blind, so we never gonna see.
But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Everybody fake woke while the president is asleep. So I introvert myself cause it's evident to me. No one saves us but us. Buddha said it in BC. No title deeds and just reference the evidence to me. Man, you don't own it, you a tenant. and it says it on your deed. You said where to sign, but didn't take the time to even read. There's gotta be an idiocracy. They call you crazy as Kanye, just for thinking logically. 2 million nationals backing us to stop who ain't stopping me. For instance, when Columbus came over here, they admitted Native Americans was already there. But if our kids take the test on who discovered land we on, and you say Native Americans, you get the question wrong. Don't lie to us, you were just a colonist. Can't hide the truth. We got all the proof from the anthropologists. We know the system now, it's time to get up out of it. But it's our fault, because we fought so hard to be a part of it.
Now, I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull a knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
All people trying to burn us, out selling services with disclaimers, saying that it ain't for legal purposes. No cash, broke ass, internet burglars with temporary schemes and a lot of fraudulent dreams. Yeah, we got our own embassy, we got our own consulate, foreign administrations and 3 armies on top of it. We live by 5 principles, but we'll die for this. Freedom back to the people, protect them from the apocalypse. I took that title that they gave me and I clouded it. F what you say, sets the Cubate, I got a bond with this. My way of thinking pissed the military off. I ain't with they way of thinking, wrong the military law. We coming peaceful, outside the mosque and the cathedral. And we'll resort to violence, I gotta protect my people. They call us ghetto, they call us thugs. The only God they worship, guns, oil, and drugs. I'm on the block, Martin Luther King was shot, holding a gun that killed Kennedy, trying to find a remedy. You can't cancel me nor censor me, with chancery and sensory, God-like energy to infinity. My actions are my testament. I got a lot of questioning. How Ben Frank was on 100 but was never president. You broke, you go to jail. You got money, you get right out. They lock you up for drugs, but they got coke in the White House.